you just can't hold back the Christmas joy sometimes. It just wants to burst forth. It's like the kids, and they did a great job being dressed up and coming here. Just a little bit of that gospel story. Not just words, but in real life. And yet, even then, you could see them with the ants in their pants and how excited they were, like they're about to pop. Because they're going to have to go home tonight, and somehow they're going to have to manage to fall asleep, knowing that come early in the morning, for some of you, very early in the morning, that's when all the fun will finally start. And so they're full of excitement. They are full of Christmas joy. And maybe like an extra verse of a hymn that you just can't help singing or playing. These kids can't help being excited about tomorrow morning. They can't help looking forward to it with hope and expectation and joy, to the point where, with the ants in their pants and the jumpiness of their hearts, they will find it very difficult to sleep tonight. In this most wonderful time of the year, to be a child again, to think about that excitement, that hope, that expectation. I think it's right. I think it's good. I think that's the way it ought to be, not just for the kids, but for all of us, to see Christmas with a sense of hope and expectancy and joy. Not just the burdens and the frustrations, not just the responsibilities, not just the, did we get everything done or not? But a sense of actual Christmas joy. Joy. Not just happiness at what we might find under the tree tomorrow, but an abiding sense of our security and God's assurance of who Jesus is, what that means for us. And that as we offer and exchange these gifts back and forth, to and fro tomorrow, we are doing so in thanksgiving for that first and greatest Christmas gift that God gives to us. For God so loved the world that He gave. He gave His only begotten Son, that all who believe in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. We say it every single service because it's worth hearing every single service. And because of that most holy and greatest of all gifts, comes to Christmas morning, we can't help it to give a gift to kids, to parents, to friends, to family, to each other, hoping to spark some sense in them of that wonder, of that joy, hoping to show them in some small way that they are cared about, that they are loved. Isn't that what we hope for when we give a gift? When we see them unwrap it? Oh, thank you. I mean, the underwear probably fit. I'm sure I can use this gift card somewhere. Don't we hope for some sort of gift that we spent some time with and some effort? We sort of thought about it. We thought about the person. We thought about what they like or what they love or what makes them happy or what they need. Especially the things that they wouldn't ask for. But only someone who really knows them, only someone who really loves them will be able to figure it out. And as they unwrap it, it's not just, wow, what a great gift. It's, wow, somebody knows me. Wow, somebody cares. Wow, someone loves me. That is Christmas joy, not from the presents under the tree, but from a mighty God who knows you inside and out, who understands you and cares for you, good, bad, and indifferent, on your best days and on your worst. For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. A God who loves you so much, He gives. He even gives His Son. gives himself. So when we gather to have this Christmas service, this is kind of the only time of year I can think about where I try to double up on the old gospel. Right? We just read and we just watched from Luke chapter 2. And that's the shepherds abiding and the angels adoring and the baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And you can't come to Christmas without getting that image and thinking about the truth and the reality of this young couple. Promises from an angel that seem outrageous and impossible. But the faith of Mary, the integrity of Joseph. The baby born of the very power of God. But not in a palace, not in a castle, not on a throne. A cave. Put in an animal's feeding trough because there was nowhere else for him to go. The might and the power and the grandeur and the grace of God. And it's in the barnyard. It's tiny, it's small, it shivers in the cold. It needs a mother to hold him tight and to keep him warm. We take a second gospel at the end of the service while we're still anticipating getting home and getting the kids to bed or wrapping those last few presents. But before we leave, we hear again, this time not from Luke, we hear from John. We're reminded that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things came to be through Him. That this baby born is more than just a child. More than just a great man that he will grow into. More than just a superhero that we can look up to. But the very Word of God. That for all who receive Him, who believe in His name, He will make us children of God. Born not through our parents, but born of the very power of God Himself. For you see that baby who shivers in the cold and is held by his mother, that is the Word become flesh to live among us. And when we look in the manger, when we see the children in front of us, when we remember the story from Luke chapter 2, we have to know that we have seen the glory of God, the glory of a Father's only Son, full of grace and full of truth. Both Gospels coming together to give us a fuller picture of what's actually happening and what it all means. Why it's worth coming out at 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. Both Gospels, so human, so frail, so humble, and then so glorious, so magnificent, so theologically, cosmically, and eternally powerful. And it's all happening at the same time, but you kind of need that double perspective of the double gospel to see it in its truth. So, I got this cross for Christmas for my sister. Don't tell her. And I really like it, but I can't help but think about the way it's shaped when I consider Christmas tonight. It's pretty, right? You can see it even in the back. So the style of this is done in tile mosaic. And why is that so interesting on a Christmas? Well, you can look from a distance and you can see the pattern, you can see the beauty, you can see the colors kind of work together and you can see them flow. You can see the broad outline of a cross and you can see from no matter how far away you might be, just a little bit of the beauty and the glory of God, right? But the thing about a mosaic, it's not paint, it's not ink, it's not even something hard that's been shaped and carved like wood. It's bits of broken tile. A nice piece of colorful tile was smashed to bits. And then it was stuck on this. And then they take the sandy cement-like grout and they stick it in and they wipe it off. And from a distance, it looks like this sort of nice, beautiful surface. And you can see the prettiness of the pattern. But you get up real close. You get right up to it. And all of a sudden, you see the broken parts. You see the jagged little bits. You see the corners that aren't quite perfectly straight. And if you're really pressing, you might even cut yourself. They're so sharp. You can feel the sandy texture of the grout. It's not perfectly smooth. It's rough. It's coarse. It's hard. It's real life. If looking at this cross from a distance is that God's eye view, that John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word. We can see the very power of God. We can know in His cross salvation for all of His people. Grace, unmerited favor, the very love of God which gives. But God's not just at a distance. He is Emmanuel, God with us. That wonderful counselor, that Prince of Peace, that mighty God is also right here. Lying in an animal's feeding trough with tiny little fingers and toes. Getting hungry. Crying at night. Being held by a mother. Understanding real life with real hardships and real difficulties. Real failures and real pain. For in the incarnation, which is what we celebrate for Christmas, God taking on our flesh, God taking on our lives. But the gift of His Son comes in real life. Real life that can be jagged and sharp. Real life that can be rough and coarse. Real life that when you look so close, it can seem like it's kind of a mess. And yet, with both gospel stories, John 1 and Luke 2, it's the fuller picture, it's the fuller truth that God is indeed above us with power and might and majesty and glory, but He is Emmanuel, right here with us and willing to take on our lives, willing to take on our problems, willing to feel our suffering, our weakness, our shame. Now, if you're one of those folks who just has a perfect picture postcard Christmas, I got nothing for you. But if you're anything like me, and you try real hard, because you want to offer something beautiful and good and lasting to the people that you love, you want the wonder and the joy and the hope of Christmas to settle deep within the hearts of your children and grandchildren, of the people that you care about. That the lights and the trees and the presents and the gifts you've so carefully picked out give them some small measure of the love you have for them and some small measure of the love God has for us. But no matter how hard you try, it just doesn't quite work. At least not perfectly. Because in real life, stuff happens. What is this, just me? Stuff ever happened to you? You got a broken piece anywhere? Anywhere in your life is there a broken bit of time? Somewhere in your memory, can you find something rough and coarse and jagged? Can you think of something even that might still come that doesn't seem perfectly smooth? But maybe seems like if you get up real close, it looks like a mess. God is not far from us. He is not far from you. On this Christmas, that is what we celebrate. That the gift of God is power and might and majesty, but it is also God with you. God in this world. God walking on our dirt, drinking our water, feeling what we feel and knowing what we know. It is the Word of God, His Son Son, that we can behold His glory, but also know in the jagged, broken, ugly parts of our lives, He is not hidden away. He's not closed His eyes. He embraces us. It's all the way. The glory in the grandeur, with the roughness, the pain, the sadness and the sorrow. For the cross of Christ is both His glory and it is our salvation. His power and intimate love and His grace. That is the hope of Christmas that I want kindled in everybody. In you tonight, with ants in your pants and feeling like your heart's going to race, that you can't wait to see the gifts in store for you. For the gifts have come from the one who knows you better than any other and who loves you more deeply, more fully than we understand. The joy of Christmas is quite simply the joy of Jesus. And I wish it for you tonight, tomorrow, all the days to come, in this life, now and forevermore. Merry Christmas.
Merry